Yeah, I know, man. The week was stressful, the weekend was stressful, but it's time to rejoice because it's Monday. It's 6 p.m. Central Time, and that can only mean one thing: Chasing Shep's Mellow Mondays. Available on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and ChasingShep.com, baby boy.
Heyo.
Yo, what's going on, man? It's a Monday.
It sure is. As our
We had a
intro.
we had a viewer come in and drop out. Welcome. It's Monday.
Hey, have a great Monday. Goodbye.
It is pretty chill one. My first day of vacation this week, so I'm hype.
What a great way to get the mind right from the jump.
And we have a pretty rad guest on today.
We do have a pretty rad guest on today. Joining us today is our friend Gela Rediger.
Heyo.
Hello.
What's up?
Welcome to the show.
Not much. How are you guys?
Chilling.
Fantastic.
Chilling.
Yeah, I'm sure anybody who consistently watches our show has seen Gela pop up in some way, shape, or form. Whether in the comments on the Monday show, she made I did it on the first try, our little logo up there in the corner. She drew that for us. Thank you, Shep. And then behind me, a wall of art is all Gela. So, and she appeared in our 420 show.
I was about to say the 420.
Yeah, etc. The list goes on.
You guys are great. Thank you. That was so kind. It's always a pleasure working with you guys and talking to you guys. So I'm looking forward to our conversation tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was that? Sorry.
I don't even know where to begin.
Oh, okay. Do you have any questions, or do you just?
Well, I guess let's just get Camp Nostalgic out of the way. Like, let's just get that out of the way real quick, so it's done, and then we can just get into everything else. Because,
talked a little too much about it.
Yeah, we've talked Camp Nostalgic here on the show before, but I know you guys have a show coming out. When Dave and Alex were on the show talking about it, you had not yet premiered.
Right.
The show you've been working on for quite some time. So if you want to talk a little bit about Saturday morning.
Yeah, I mean, it would be impossible to talk about art without mentioning Camp Nostalgic. It's just impossible. And without Camp Nostalgic, the door for digital art and animation would have never opened. I started with physical art. So with the show, like with Saturday morning, most of the time what I'm making is logos, or I'm making designs for fake products or commercials. Just a variety of whatever idea we can come up with, right? Or cartoons, But specifically for Saturday morning, it's just a lot of like prop and logo design. I've made beer bottles, I've made cereal boxes, movie posters, just a variety of whatever we can come up with,
Yeah, we've. I don't know if Shep caught the latest episode, but I did, and it was fantastic.
Thank you.
I watched a little bit of it. Saturday mornings, I'm at work, so.
No, I understand.
I can peep them here and there when they drop, and that's what I do. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably be doing something.
Right. No, you're good. You're good, man.
But no, yeah, your guys is it is really good. I like. I always feel like, I don't know if you've watched Check It Out, the show Check It Out with Dr. Steve Brule, like how they always came in with the American flag and stuff like that. And I always, when your guys comes in doing the same thing, I just love it. I feel like it plays true to the name, and it hits my nostalgic really good. Like,
Right, exactly, yeah.
And you just finished a cartoon as well, right?
I did. My first cartoon, Stoopy and Fran Bran. Yeah, we came up with that concept. It was a joke between Alex and Dave years ago. And it was a mess up in like an Instagram message, right? And they just kind of, you know how they go. They bounce off each other and they just bullshit. And then we were like, this kind of sounds like a cartoon. And like, we were just kind of rattling ideas, and like, animation was kind of like in the middle of me learning everything, right? And I was like, well, I could try to do Stoopy and Fran, right? And it started off with, I was trying to go very Hanna-Barbera old-fashioned with hundreds and hundreds of pages until I realized I'm going to kill myself if I keep doing this. I can't. So there was a lot of quitting. And then I was like, well, what if I got a tablet? I wonder if I can learn that way. And then I tried that way, and it seemed impossible. And I gave up again. And then one day I finally figured out how to make a ball bounce. And I was like, oh, well, this seems a lot easier now for some reason. And it took a lot of learning, but it finally got to where it needed to be. And then with Alex's composition, and the atmosphere sounds, he really just put the nail in the board, and Dave's writing, I couldn't do it without his writing. I couldn't write Stoopy and Fran, so it's very special.
Definitely, it, again, plays true to the nostalgic nature of Camp Nostalgic, I feel like. Just the style of cartoon. I definitely, I think that was like my favorite thing about it. It's just that old school feel of the cartoon. And I'm actually very, very, like, it's one of the things I'm looking forward to the most from you guys is your next one. I'm very excited.
Yeah. I read this book. Well, it's so silly. I just, it took me so long to do the first one because I had to actually learn how to animate. And then with this one, it's the same kind of concept. The story plot is not too much different. But I know how to do it faster. And I read this book, and it was just about the golden age of animation. And it made me feel like I wasn't on the wrong path, because like I took so long, but because I was new, and you kind of get imposter syndrome when you start something new and everything. But then I was reading how like Walt Disney started, and it took him years to do a minute animation at the beginning of time. And granted, it's 100 years further, right? But that it makes me feel better.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But I've been very motivated because of this book I read. I was like, hey, yeah, I'll just take as long as I need. But I'm trying to push myself to go from like 3 years to 4 months now that I kind of got the idea. So we'll see, But
Yeah, I know. I feel bad. I feel like I'm like constantly having ideas to throw at you. It's like, on the one hand, I know you appreciate it, and on the other hand, I'm like, this is so much shit I'm throwing at her. Like, I had
that's why I'll always say,
I think her plate's already too full.
no. Like I said, when it comes to like commissioning animations or like an animation idea, I just need a script. I can't write well at all. I've sent you my writing, and it was this sketch, so you know how I write. I'm just like, okay, listen up. Here's my idea, right? And I just throw this silly little idea because I can't stray away from comedy. Just write me something out. We'll make it, and short. That's how I feel about anyone, though. And it's like I worked with your friend Christine recently, and she's been great to work with too. And it was a simple thing I did for her website, and she communicated really well with what she wanted. So that kind of gives me some hope here. What'd she say?
Whoop whoop, go Gela.
Oh, thank you, Belle. That's so sweet. That's sweet.
That's pretty dope, though. But so you probably were doing like animated stuff before you did like the full on cartoon animations, like drawing is, right, or anything. Because I feel like, well, like if I was like, I want to make an animated thing, I would have to learn to draw first and foremost, because I don't know shit about anything.
You're not wrong. No, I wish I had that story where I could say, I've been an artist since I was a kid, you know, but that's not the case. I just started in 2019 with all of it.
Right.
I always wanted to be a videographer since I was my kid's age, 7. The first experience I have with art, my father was the best influence, and he introduced me to South Park around 8. So, and I was just this mature kid, and I watched South Park, and I was obsessed with it. So I, like, my first like art career I'd wanted to do was make comics, but not cool comics, like newspaper funnies. And I'm like, I'm glad I didn't go down that route, because like that's not a moneymaker, you know. Not nowadays. But yeah, so I would just draw like my friends as South Park characters and stuff, like up until 3rd grade. And like I moved to this new school, and basically the art teacher was the same art teacher from like elementary to middle school. And without saying names, she was a nasty bitch, you know, like she was just wicked. And I completely fell out of interest with it. And then in high school, I spent it making videos, and I did everything. I did podcasts, top 5, sketch channels, duo channels. They never failed. They just didn't last, you know. And I met Dave my junior year of high school, and he was just like me. You know, he was my soulmate, and I was like, whoa, someone as weird as me, you know. And we just kind of, you know, we went into doing different projects together, and eventually, like, one that meant a lot to us kind of fizzled out. There was just too many cooks in the kitchen, and it just kind of fizzled out, you know. And it was just a bummer. It was really hard to get back into, you know, creative things. There were other things that had happened in between that. Like, the biggest thing was probably my father passing away, and like he had got me into adult animation, you know. So it was just, it was a really hard time. And because our previous video project fell apart, I didn't feel like doing anything. You know, I just didn't trust it. And it actually, like, all this rambling it comes down to this crew chat I had on Snapchat. Right. It was just a group of friends who played online GTA, blah, blah, blah. But I would get pissed because I would go on, you know, the Snapchat like thing, and the bit emojis, I'd get mad because I couldn't do one with all my friends. I could only do one person at a time. I'm like, this is bullshit, right? So I was like, I'm going to trace us all, and then I'm going to draw us out. And I did that, and I sent it to the crew, and all of them, including 2 of them who didn't really talk much, were like, hey, that's pretty good. And that fire I was like, oh, there's that feeling again. And so I experimented from 2019 to now, first with sketchbooks, and that was very private, into painting. And that was where people were like, hey, I'll put that on my wall. And I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. Right.
Right.
And
right.
I went from painting to digital, and that happened because Camp Nostalgic. And it's everything weaved back to videography. I needed art to go back to it. I needed more, you know, need something else. And I found it. And now I just, you know, it's come down to cartoons, illustrating a book, like all sorts of things. And I'm so grateful for it. You know, I couldn't imagine doing anything.
That's pretty dope. That's really dope.
Yeah. Sure.
Thank you.
I know it's been a big help to us with a lot of being such an idea guy and a writer and stuff. You know, I do have these ideas where it's like, oh, this would be cool to do animated, or oh man, I'd like to do this kid's book or whatever, or a comic book, and never having anybody who can do those things. And then now we have one person, and that's why I feel like I overload you all the time. Like, I just have all these ideas.
No. I think you and I have very good communication too. Like, I'll be like, hey, I just don't believe I can do this. I'm not sure of myself. I know what I can and can't do. But like, for the most part, everything you've ever thrown at me has been doable. Like, and I love, like, it matches what I would want to do anyway. Like, I love Matt and Trey. I love South Park. I love just that they have that respect where, like, if you tell buddy you're watching something on TV, right, and it's fucked up, they're like, oh man, that's fucked up. Where's that from? And they're like, South Park. And they're like, oh, that's okay. To me, that's like a respect. And so, like, when you sent me the book idea, I was like, oh yeah, I want to do this. I want to push buttons. So
Yeah, that was
I
an
was
idea
for
I
it.
was thinking of for a long time. So I was really happy to find somebody to illustrate these not for kids books. And so I'm
Yes.
excited, I'm excited to finally see those come to fruition for sure.
They've been on the back burner for a little bit, but they're coming back.
Yeah,
I do have some time planned out for them.
we like I said, we got a lot on
Right.
all the plates with the creative stuff. So I definitely get it.
Right. I still want to see Shacking Up with Shep. I do.
Yeah,
I
no,
do.
that would be a fun one. Yeah, for sure. I'm down for
Right.
that.
It's gonna happen someday.
I think I've told Chase, I think we said it on here, how I've always wanted to do, like when I was younger, I always wanted to do the voice of cartoon characters because I just watched, I grew up watching all kinds of shit. When I was real little, there was Sniffles the cat was one of my favorite cartoon characters. I mean, we named
Yeah.
our cat after it. Or Sniffles the mouse. That's why I say the cat, because the little mouse Sniffles. We named our cat after her, and like just getting to grow up with all that from being like Simpsons and stuff. Like I have got Simpsons tattoos, and people are like, "Oh, you like the Simpsons?" It's like, no, that was just staple growing up. Like you got
Right.
the Treehouse
That's
of
just what
Horror
you did.
episodes. Yeah. It was just
Right.
always there. It's still here now. It's still here now.
Right.
But then, I've got to see that, we all got to grow up and see that boom. And like you said, like the South Park's coming out, which really pushed the boundaries. And then that jumped off into the fucking Family Guys and American Dads now, and Rick and
Right.
Morty's and
Oh God,
Mr.
it's so
Pickles.
morbid now. Yes, that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, have you seen Mr. Pickles? That show's fucked up, but I love it.
No, yeah, it's wild the amount out there now, compared to when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, it was mostly, when you're looking for animation, it was kid shit. You had X-Men, you had Batman, you had Ninja Turtles, all kinds of stuff. That I don't know.
Right.
I don't know where. I'm not going anywhere in particular with this. I'm just rambling.
No.
Definitely.
No, you're absolutely right. It was like, well, 80s animation is just beautiful. I don't know what happened, but it was beautiful in the 80s. But like the book I'm reading about Golden Age animation is like the Fleischer brothers with Betty Boop. They were edgy as fuck, guys. Like Betty Boop popped out a titty every once in a while, and you're just like, whoa! Like they went to court for this shit, And you're just like, we really haven't strayed too far from where we came from. We've gotten a little more gory, it seems, because the sexualizing of cartoons was always there,
Oh.
And like with Fleischer cartoons, there was always like death and grim and spirit stuff. And that's my favorite, but it was always kind of grim.
I think that's where we've always connected on stuff too, is that grimness and animation and comic books and stuff like that. We both kind of enjoy that, style and storytelling and stuff. I was just telling Belle earlier today, I'm like, I love that I have like a 2-person book club with you.
I know. I was telling David, because David, he's so much of a historian. Like his favorite content is just like the classic stuff. Like he likes some newer things, but like he's just, like I said, he's a historian, so he's fascinated by that. And I'm fascinated more so. Like I don't even really watch horror movies, I'll be honest. Like I love horror in video games and comic books because as an artist, it fascinates me seeing someone like create that, like something terrifying from their mind and bring it to life, especially in a book, especially as a drawing. I don't know, maybe because I can relate with it a little more, but it just fascinates me,
Oh, for sure.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah, and I know I told you yesterday that I need to start doing more blind buys, but I was like, I'm glad she does these blind buys. Because I'm at least still getting exposed to all these comic books that I never would have read otherwise, because her just comic books up and then handing them off to me. And
I'm like, dude, check this out.
Yeah. And some of it has been fucked up. I usually get like a little warning when you hand them off to me. It's like, yeah,
this is fucked, man. I'm just letting you know it's fucking weird. Yeah.
With that being said, let's talk about Swamp Thing.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me what you're thinking.
So, I was looking at the stack of comics you just gave me yesterday. I'm like, what do I want to read first? I'm like, I've always wanted to check out Swamp Thing. I've always heard that I would like it, and I always felt like I would like it. And so I was reading the first couple of pages just with like the little forwards and introductions at the beginning. And when I turned the page from that to that first page with the cover art, my eyes got this big. I was just like, whoa. Like I've never
beautiful
read a comic book before and like been that enamored by like the style and like the colors specifically. Like the pages were just so colorful and the way the colors popped and everything. And I was just like, this is amazing. Like I was just, I just, every time, every one of them that I've read so far, like I just spend like a few minutes just staring at the cover art just because it's gorgeous. And I'm finding that's a thing. Just the more comics that I read, the art specifically that I find myself like drawn to is the cover art. And I know a lot more cover artists, I feel like, than actual like comic artists.
Right. No, I agree with that. It's the palette that impressed me with Swamp Thing, Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, and like, I mean, you could see it in video games. Hair is just a hard thing to draw or create. So like, just like the grassy, hairy textures and all the like the plant details just amazes me in that story. I mean, I know that's the point of it, but like, it's just beautiful. And I've never really gotten into anything else of Alan Moore's, but he's just a poetic, romantic writer, and I love it. He's so deep.
Yeah, there are definitely moments in the writing that I like. I think the only other Alan Moore I've read is Watchmen, and like it's definitely very reminiscent of like the anatomy lesson issue of Swamp Thing. Like reading that, I'm like, this feels very Watchmen. Like I feel the Alan Moore here for sure.
I sense his presence. He's here and it's somber. Oh, that's great. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Swamp Thing's rad. Swamp Thing's a rad character. I first bumped into him reading Hellblazers. I believe that might have been his first introduction, was in the Hellblazer comic. I believe Constantine, knocked boots with his old lady, and he did not like that. And he sent him out to
really?
Swamp. Something like that, I believe, is the first time you see him, and Swamp Thing is just not having it. He's like, get the hell out of here, Constantine.
What are you doing, Constantine? Get out of here.
Hey, that's his MO. So
he just shows up out of nowhere doing whatever the fuck he wants. You know what I mean?
But But those again, even the Hellblazer comic books, those were back in the, I believe, 80s. And those had a very cool animation style to them too. And, a lot of demons and a lot of horror within those pages. So those are one of my faves.
I'll have to check that out. I've never even bothered to read any of the Hellblazer comics, to be honest.
They were pretty cool. I really liked how they mimicked, what was going on over in like the UK during the times, and a lot of the politicians like Margaret Thatcher and stuff at the time they'd have in there, but they'd be demonic and all kinds of stuff. It's a pretty good read. I like the original Hellblazer series is one of it's one of my all-time faves.
Slightly off topic, but the political figures thing you were just talking about. I got curious earlier, Shep, and I looked up Evil Dead comic books. There's a shit ton of them for one, but one that I found that I was like, really, was Ash Saves Obama. It's like a 4-issue run.
Really?
Deadites overrunning the White House or something, and he saves Obama. It was around like the time he first became president. And there's a lot of wild like Evil Dead comics that I didn't even know existed. So
I did not know this either.
Yeah, there's a ton of them. I saw the one that you told me about the Marvel Zombies versus Ash, and I'm just like, oh, that's what's up. Like that.
I know there's that one, and I know there's like I said, they did the continuation of Freddy vs. Jason in comic books with Freddy vs. Jason versus Ash. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, I do. We, Shep and I both watch horror movies, but there is something about horror in video games and comic books that is so appealing. you know, in a different
Yeah.
sort of. I still find myself thinking about witches, you know, since I mean, that was just so cool, you know,
Yeah.
just such a new little twist on witches, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking forward to getting my hands on.
Yeah, that was like the first introduction to like horror comics for me was Witches. And it was a blind buy. I was like, you know, I got into comic books because of David, and the first one I ever gotten into was Nightwing, and it was an accident. I was like, I'm gonna read Robin because I feel bad for him, right? And then I was like, oh no, wait, this Nightwing shit's pretty fucking cool, and I dove hard for it. And then I was like, you know, I read so many, like I couldn't really get into too many other superhero comics, and I was like, well, shit, there's probably other types of comic books, right? And I picked it up just because it looked interesting. There was a Stephen King review on it. I was like, all right, I'll try this, and it was worth it. And that's why, like, it was so ironic the day you guys came in and you're like, do you know any horror comics? I'm like, this was my first horror comic. I'm like, read this one. So yeah, it's great.
Totally lost my train of thought. I had a question. I forgot what it was. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, you know. Meanwhile, you gave me all these comics, and then I'm like, here's a superhero comic. And it's like it's always what I've got for you.
No, but I mean, like the Runaways. I really got into it because even though it is a superhero comic, it's a bunch of teenage runaways who don't know what the hell they're doing. They're out of control, and I really dug that because it strayed away from like your basic superhero story. There's nothing wrong with it, but I liked it because it was different. And I'm really into it, and like I said, I'm here for that cliffhanger after the fourth one. So
no, I haven't even
ready.
seen one myself. So
oh, okay.
I'll send it your way.
Right.
We're coming, I think we've got 5, 6, 7, and 8 are still Brian Vaughn. And then the writer changes after that. And then Joss Whedon. And then somebody else does the last few. So we'll write it out. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, book club.
Right.
Right on.
I know we kind of had a discussion yesterday over at your house, and Shep brought this up the other day as well. I don't know, just that line, I guess, in this medium, because I feel like animation, comic books, video games even are all kind of made out to be for kids, you know, and like so it's like as adults it's like people kind of shame you for enjoying them. Of course, culture has changed at this point, you know, like it's a little more acceptable to be into those things as an adult,
right?
But I guess just that line, you know, of like where things are for adults and for kids and all of that.
Yeah. Well, I guess as a parent, you know, and Shep, I know you can agree with this too, and you can just see this as an adult yourself, Chase, but it's like, it seems like there's more content for adults now. Like even people who jump in the animation world most of the time want to do what I'm doing. Like it would be hypocritical to say that I wasn't making kids content. Now, granted, my kids can watch Stoopy and Fran because it doesn't have swearing or anything. It's just a purchase. You know, that's it. But a lot of the times, like there's a lot of new animators, especially through like Instagram. Instagram is huge for animators. And like, I don't know if you guys have heard of Meat Cannon or seen any of his stuff, but his shit is fucked up. It's great. I love it. But like, all you have to do is search up SpongeBob or some shit, right? And his demonic, like twisted cartoon's gonna come up. And like, granted, it's not, you know, and I'm on both sides here. You know, it's not it's not fucking Meat Cannon or Matt and Trey's responsibility to make sure my kids don't watch something, but the world does make it fucking hard to hide it, you know. And I guess that's my biggest thing is there's not room for both. Like we got a freaking Winnie the Pooh movie coming out that's he's terrifying, you know what I mean? And like that's gonna for a little bit that's gonna take over the image of such a classic cartoon character that was so wholesome to kids. And even though part of me is for it, the parent side of me is just like, okay, well, there's another one. I can't take them to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so it's bittersweet both ways, because I feel like everything's like that. Like you said, comics, cartoons, movies, everything is like that. And it's hard to find something you can trust for your family. So.
Yeah, and like to me, it's always been around. Like when I was getting out of high school, it was Happy Tree Friends, I believe, was
Yes.
making its round and being big, and me being an immature 18-year-old, I had a 3-year-old little sister, and she would watch that, and she thought it was, oh, look at these little squirrels and shit, and so that would catch her eye, and then they'd stick someone's head in the fryer or some shit like that.
Right.
And then, and so it's like, it is, like I've always just felt like that. Ultimately, as the parent, it was like, I got to monitor what my kid's watching. If he's watching some weird shit, like, go in there and cut it out. You can block that shit out.
Right. Oh yeah. There's so many shows that like the girls, especially with app services now, like they'll come across and I'll just be like, well, no more of that show. Like there's this show that I think of immediately called Masha and the Bear. I don't know if you've heard this one, right? And it just seems like a cute little thing, right? A little girl and her bear friend. No, this little girl goes into this bear's house and just fucking causes chaos. She breaks all his shit for no reason. Like she just goes in there and fucking burns it sometimes. It's just every episode is like that, and I'm like, what is this teaching them?
Yeah.
You're not watching this show anymore,
That's funny. I didn't realize Masha and the Bear were so problematic.
It's intense. Well, when you really pay attention, that's all it is just Masha fucking with Bear, and you're like, oh, this little girl's kind of mean. I'm like, and she's supposed to be the funny character, I'm like, oh god, no more of this.
It is hard. I feel like the internet has made it a lot harder to keep things separated, for sure. Because like I think of, it's a little bit of a different example, but like when Phil and I would go up to the local video store, it was a mom and pop place. It wasn't a Blockbuster or anything like that. With a chain video store, there's at least the beaded curtain that you have to go through to get to the adult stuff. But in our hometown video, everything was just right next to something wholesome. You could find the erotic misadventures of the Invisible Man. Everybody knew about that title on the shelves. Like we'd always out of the school. It's like everything was just mixed in with everything else, and at least something like that though. Like I don't know. It's kind of like the joke I made yesterday of like. I really don't want my kids to have that sort of internet access because you have no idea what they're doing. And kids are fucking smart too. Like they can figure that shit out. Like I just had a friend recently who had to take their kid's phone away because he figured out how to use his dad's email and password to turn the restrictions off and stuff.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
It's like, fuck, did you do that? Like like no.
I don't even know how to do that, kid. Like.
Yeah, it took me 5 days to figure that out. How'd you do that? But the joke I made yesterday was like, no, if you want to look at porn, you do it the old-fashioned way, and you find the magazines I have hidden around. Like, it's like that's one of those things. I feel like that's a coming-of-age thing, where it's just like,
who's got magazines laying around anymore, bud?
They're hidden here, just for such an occasion, just for
I have one up here. There's one. It was for a prop, I swear.
The only thing I have even remotely to that is a little comic from like 1956. And
that's probably really cool though.
It was how they sold porno mags before like Playboy or anything like that. It was all cartoon based.
I don't know if I've ever told this story here, but how I have such a large stack. I downsized the stack, but I had such a monumental stack of like porno mags because when I was working at Hooters like back in this is like 2013, 2014, my manager at the time, he was getting ready to change stores. He was getting ready to go over to Indiana to a new store. And I'm working in the kitchen, I'm doing prep, and he comes in and he goes, hey, he's like, I got some like Playboys, and you know this. But he's like, I got these Playboys in the back of my car. Do you want any of them? And I'm just like, I mean, like, yeah. He's like, Pablito just grabbed a few of them. If you want to come and look, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. So I go out back, and like, he's been a subscriber for a minute, and like, there's fucking stacks of these things in the back of his car, and he's like, we're looking at them, and I don't even get the chance to like pick some out before he goes, hey, where are you parked? And I'm like, in the other lot. Why? He goes, why don't you pull your car around? I was like, okay. I pull my car around, and he puts every single one of these magazines in the trunk of my car. And there was like so many of them that I didn't even want to carry them into my apartment because like it was going to take multiple trips. And I live on the 3rd floor, and I just would have been walking with just stacks on stacks of porno mags. And so I just left them in my car. And of course they were neatly stacked when we put them in. And then like when I drove around, they kind of covered the whole trunk of my car. And so when I opened my car, just porn, just all strewed through the trunk. I'm like, if I get pulled over, I'm going to have some splaining to do. So I greatly downsized the amount of magazines. I think I kept like 5.
You could probably sold them though. They're like worth some money online. You could have just flipped them.
I guess.
$40 porno mag.
As long as the pages were clean. Yeah, when you're picking them up from somebody from a work, I would,
Right.
You said he's been a subscriber a long time.
Like, my wife said I had to get rid of these. I couldn't carry them around with me anymore. I'm like, I'd imagine so.
Oh yes,
I'd be like, you can keep like a few, but this is absurd. Like this is
right.
This is like hoarder levels of Playboy magazine. Like
I couldn't even imagine, man. I could not even imagine.
But yeah, like I know something we talked about yesterday too is like I've always had a problem with like, I don't even have kids yet, but I've always had this problem with like if I'm watching something that's like clearly for kids. Obviously, like we talked about SpongeBob. It's like, okay, shit like SpongeBob, even back with Looney Tunes, like there's so much shit in there that goes right over kids' heads. They went over my head as a kid. I didn't get any of it until I was older, and then I'm like, oh, that's cheeky, like
right.
Now I get it, but like I'm not worried about my kids picking up on it, sort of thing. But then like there are other situations where there's a movie that's like completely like kid friendly, and then it just goes way to the other side of the spectrum and just makes some joke or does something that I'm like, whoa, like, whoa, why would you put this in a kid's thing? And I don't agree with that. Like, if you want to have something in the middle that both parents and kids can watch, like I'm fine with that. But when it's just like these opposite ends of the spectrum sort of thing, that bothers me. I remember the very first time I experienced something like that was I want to say it was the movie Igor is what it was called. It was an animated movie. It was like 2006, 2007. And so I was in junior high at the time, and I watched it. And so I was old enough to know, that was kind of intense for a kid movie. But there's like a rabbit or something that's voiced by Steve Buscemi. And his whole thing is that he's like depressed and he can't die. He's like this, Frankenstein's monster kind of deal. And like, there's a part where he straight up shoots himself in the face, and like, constantly trying to commit suicide. And I'm just like, I was so aware of how inappropriate this was in a kid's movie, even as a kid. I'm like, this is fucked up. Like, this isn't right.
Yeah.
Because I love my dark kid stuff. Like, I grew up on Nightmare Before Christmas, and when my sister was younger, we would watch Coraline together a lot, and I love stuff like that.
Right.
But that feels more like appropriate to get kids into horror, like stuff like that, like Goosebumps, like things like that. That's okay. But Igor, I'm like, I'm not showing that to my kids. Like, that's just fucked up.
Right. Yeah. No. Like the movie 9. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. That's pretty fucking like, I'm gonna have nightmares tonight. Even though it's like nothing crazy happens, there's like no cursing or anything, but you're just like, my God.
Yeah,
this is horrifying.
Yeah.
It's unsettling, I should say.
I like that one borders on being for adults. 9. It definitely feels more like an adult movie than a kid's movie.
Yeah, that one got me. I was like, this is uncomfortable. I have to turn this off. But yeah, I totally get what you mean. Like there was a Netflix movie. I don't know what it was, but if you looked it up, it became like a trending topic. It's just this. It's a dog, and it's got like it's in 3D cartoon. And it's got like a speaker collar or something. But every time it says a swear word, it bleeps, and like it's okay because there's a bleep. It's censored, right? And I'm like, oh my god, this little dog is swearing a lot. And it's talking about wanting to kick people's ass and stuff. But like, I forgot what the movie was called. But like, that was the most recent one we found, and that was under like the kids' account on Netflix. I'm like, how is this passable just because it's censored? Like,
Yeah.
we're taking this to the wrong extent. Like, yeah, we've seen sitcoms and shows that were censored, and like that's a big part of Saturday morning. You know, we show that like you've seen that in commercials, and it was normal, and that kind of went over a kid's head. But now it's like now they're drilling it in, and it's just like, oh, well, now it's not funny anymore, and now they're gonna start doing it.
I remember the first time I saw a regular show, and like my jaw dropped when they like
Yeah.
cursed on the show because there was just an episode where he's like, "I'm pissed." I'm like, "Whoa!" Like what? What did he say? Like this is Cartoon Network. Like I didn't know you were allowed to do that before Adult Swim. Like it blew my mind.
Yeah, Cartoon Network seems the one that like takes the risks, from what I hear. I mean, I started watching South Park at a very young age, so Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon just went out the window. You know, I was like, this grown-up stuff, come on, you know. But I heard like, you know, like you said, like the Happy Tree Friends or something. Wasn't that on Cartoon Network as well?
Oh,
Or
I
am I
know.
wrong?
I don't think so. It was on
Okay.
something. I know it did go but I'd like to say it was on probably like Spike TV back in the day or something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We're like G4 or some shit.
Yeah, it was on some weird channel. But I mean, like, you know, they do have. I feel like, you know, Cartoon Network has some real wholesome content, you know, for kids too.
Mhm.
Like, and to even the more adult ones, like when you're going into like Adventure Times and Steven Universe and all that kind of stuff. Like I was just telling Chase, I was just laying around watching Steven Universe all day. Like, you know, you can vibe with it. And they do, but yeah, like, you know, I grew up in the time where Disney was hiding, you know, dicks here and there and putting sex in the sky. And so, you know, like it's been there, I feel like, my whole life. I remember when Power Rangers was, you know, an uproar that was too violent to put on TV for kids to indulge. All they're doing is fighting, you know, and shit like that. So, it's wild. It's wild to stop and think about. But I feel like if I was ever doing it, if I was going for an adult audience, I'd lean to the adult audience. And if I was going to a kid audience, I would just lean to the kids. I wouldn't,
Right.
you know, I wouldn't try to put some fucked up shit in there too much.
Right.
And it's funny that you say that, because like they've been doing that since like over 100 years ago. Because a lot of times, like when Disney first started his first studio, a lot of the employees would get fucking bored of like Mickey Mouse and shit, and so they would draw like all the characters doing obscene shit. And like Walt was strict on it. Like if he found out, he would fire you. But there are apparently animation cells of Snow White and them dwarves doing some shit. Like, and I would love to see those cells, but like unfortunately, I'm sure they're scrapped. But yeah, they've been doing that forever. And I would say it would probably be like the type of sense of humor I have. It would be hard not to hide a dick in something, you know what I mean? Like you have to hide, like, or an ass. Come on, like that's my forte. I got to draw a cartoon butt, you know, like somewhere in the sky as a cloud, you know. But
I had a little butt in the clouds.
Right, yeah, a little butt cloud.
Like you said earlier, it definitely isn't on the creators on if the kids are watching it or not. Like,
yeah.
And I think certain things are like, I feel like streaming is where things get really muddy, because like you can literally just find whatever. Like if you're not like on the kids section specifically, and even like examples you gave, like sometimes on the kids section, things get labeled and put somewhere they shouldn't be. And I said like you could just scroll through the main page on Netflix, and like they'll play a clip to something, or like just something like insanely inappropriate will be right there accessible for anybody to see, including children.
Right.
Like I remember when Sausage Party, Sausage Party, it was
Yeah.
a theatrical release. Like, it looks like a kid's movie, but like the marketing made it very clear this is not for kids. Like, this is not for kids. I was looking at Family Video when it came out on DVD, and we had to sticker those fuckers up with 18 and up. Like, this is not for kids.
Right.
And we'd still have people come in and be like, "Oh, look at this! Like, I'll take this home for my kids." And like, I remember one guy in particular. It was just like he was watching his like girlfriend's kids or something one night, and he rented this. And we even said something to him about it. And we're like, because he said, "I'm getting this for the kids." And I'm like, "My man, this
is not for the
Right.
kids.
It's not for the kids. There's so much shit on here that says this is not for kids." He rents it, takes it home. And he comes back and he's pissed off. And I'm like, what do you want? What more could you possibly want us to do? Like, we tried to do, and then you sat your kids down in front of a movie that doesn't even take 5 minutes to go from 0 to 100. That movie was insane.
Oh yeah, I know. I remember my kids were very little, probably like 2 or 3 when that came out. And there was another movie that came out. I don't know the name of it. You guys might know. It's the one with all the dogs, like C.K. Lewis was in it or something, or whatever his name is. What is it? I don't know. But it's something with a bunch of pets. And there's a scene in it with there's a hot dog factory and shit. And so the kids just thought that part of the movie was hilarious. Like, on the hot dog, there's hot dogs flying in the sky, heaven hot dog shit. And so when they see Sausage Party and the covers of the hot dog, they're like, "Mom, we want to watch the sausage movie." I'm like, "No, we can't watch the sausage movie." You know what I mean? So that one was hard because they already knew that it was funny. They just didn't know the extent of it. And I was like, this is like one of and they're 3. I can't explain them. There's a reason you can't watch this. They don't really comprehend it. They're just like, "There's a hot dog, Mom. Come on."
Yeah, and it can be hard sometimes to like differentiate. Like, I know video games sometimes can be kind of difficult of like, "Oh, this is age appropriate," but then it's like as you get into the game, you're like, "Nope, actually,
Yeah.
nope." Like, I just played Sea of Solitude not too long ago, and like on the surface, looks like a kid-friendly game, and I mean, you could let your kid play it, and there's just like very intense themes to the thing. I mean, a lot of it's about mental health. And I mean, it doesn't really curse or anything like that. Like, there's nothing super inappropriate, but it is intense and it is scary. And, it's not something I would necessarily want my kid playing because I'd have to stay up with them every night.
Right.
But yeah, like I know at the end of our conversation yesterday, you and I were on the same page of just like, we want both. We want there to be able to be things for the kids, but also I think, adults should be able to have their animation and comics.
Yeah.
Because, especially in comics, like, the one I gave you, Alias, like, that's another one that I feel like you'll enjoy just because it's set in the world of superheroes, but it's something entirely different. Like, it's grittier and darker and like street level sort of realness. And that's what I really appreciate about stories like that. And then you get characters like Batman and Joker and Harley Quinn and all that stuff that we were talking about yesterday, where that's tricky too, because it's like these are characters that kids love.
Yes.
But they're also characters that are intense, and adults love them as well for different reasons. And it's like it is hard to be like, yeah, let's take Timmy and Tommy to fucking the Batman. And like, it's not really for the kids.
Right.
I think the comic books are the harder ones for that. Like when I was dealing with my son growing up, because on one hand you'd have a very aimed at kids Batman, light, fluffy comic book, and then your kid gets into it and reads that and likes it, and then he's like, "Oh, I'll grab this next one, Dad," and it's the one where Joker carves his fucking face off and wears it as a mask. Right. And then you're sitting there having to explain that to his mom, like, "Oh shit, I don't know. He likes it. He thinks it's cool. I don't know. Like, I don't think he understands what's going on in it. It's just, but again, that was me. That was on me. That was me fucking up and being like, God damn it, that's right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, fun trick. I get you. No, yeah,
yeah,
because like besides like the golden age stuff of Batman, like I have that run you're talking about. That's Scott Snyder's run, and I love it. I love Scott Snyder's Batman. I do till the end, but it's too much for kids. Like it's way too much because yeah, Joker carves his face right the fuck off, and then there's like 6 more of them by the end of that run, and I'm just like, great, that's what the kids need.
right. Yeah,
Sometimes I feel like adults can't even handle that shit. I mean, look at all the
Yeah.
adults. Joker and Harley Quinn is something to form a relationship off of. It's like, oh, I want
Right.
that. Do you want that?
Yeah.
You know, like
Well,
I don't think
and
you do.
people will try to soften it, and they'll be like, well, now it's Harley Quinn and Ivy. I'm like, I don't think that's any better. They're both villains too. You know what I mean? I mean, they're less extreme and it's not manipulative, but it's still like, shit, I don't know if that was better. But
because again, like when I was growing up, you had the action comic Superman and stuff. That's what we start getting into and reading, where you have just this
yeah,
wholesome ass Superman saving the day all the time. And hell, now if you read Superman, I guarantee it's even realer than that. There's probably some real shit.
right.
I know the one where he talks the girl out of doing killing herself and jumping off a skyscraper. That one's cool, but that's some real shit. Drop in if you're
Yeah.
like 6 years old and reading through, and you're like, oh.
And that's a really good point too, because like even Batman, like David talks to me about the Golden Age more so than anything, but he did show me a couple of panels. Like the first release of Batman is him saving someone from trying to kill themselves. The only difference from what that was then to what it is now is it's just more graphic. You know what I mean? Like it's more detailed. The art has changed, but really, the plot hasn't.
Right?
But,
yeah.
So we've just gotten more detailed, and I think that scares people when they get a better visual of things. They're like, oh shit, I can really see it now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I vibe with that. Like when I was a kid and you'd watch those old horror movies that just so outdated, you're just like, yeah, this is fake. I can watch this as nothing. But you watch like that
Right.
current shit, like watching Chucky
You're
run out
traumatized.
run out of that fireplace at the end, and you're like, oh shit, what is that?
Yeah.
So I get it.
That
I
still
get
holds up.
it. I do. That scared the shit out of me as a kid. That is a
Did
moment
it?
I'll never forget.
That was like your scary movie moment that freaked you out the most as a kid.
Yeah, no, like for years, like
Yeah.
because I remember, I believe like my parents were watching that Child's Play, and I wanted to come out of my room downstairs and stuff and go out, and they weren't. They're like, no, you're too young, you can't be out here. And it
Right.
was they threw Chucky in the fire, he died and whatnot, and they just thought, all right, the movie's done, he's in the fire, dead, we're good. Yeah, Aaron, you can come out, you're good now. And I still remember, like, and maybe I don't know, because I'm like 35, so my head could be making up stories. But as far as my memory goes of this whole thing, this is how that went. And then he pops out of the fire there, at the end, coming at him again. And I was fucking terrified. And when I went to preschool, I do know they had a Mr. Good Guy doll, and I screamed. I wouldn't move. I just screaming and crying. My mom had to come pick me up, and she told him like, "Oh, you're gonna have to get rid of that. He's terrified of Chucky." And yeah,
That's so funny.
There was some years until I got over that and could actually like go back in and watch Child's Play and be like, all right.
Yeah,
right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Definitely have that as well. Because I didn't get into horror till like I was like, I don't know, 7th, 8th grade by the time I got into horror. But before that, like not about it at all.
Right.
I mean, I was scarred for life by Scary Movie. Like it was like
really well.
Too, and my parents were watching it, and they were like, "Oh, it's a." They kept trying to tell me it's not scary; it's a funny movie. And as a child, the concept was lost on me because the images are still pretty fucking scary. So like it was an opening where it's like making fun of The Exorcist and stuff. I didn't see humor. All I saw was this girl like pissing herself and then turning into this demon, like and spinning her head around, and like that shit stuck with me forever. I was like, that's so terrifying. Yeah. I'm like, what's
Totally.
funny about this, you sickos?
That's great. That's great.
You can't lie to me. I read the title. I think my scary movie moment was I didn't see any of the other Jason movies or Friday the 13th movies, but I seen the one where he's in space and he gets his head dipped in that shit and then smack. I seen that and I was like, oh, there's a liquid that will freeze your fucking head and someone can smash it on the counter. And I was like, nope, I'm done. And I'm thinking it's all space related since they're in space. I'm like, fuck space, fuck it all, I'm done. That was it for me. That was just too abnormal for my little eyes. But yeah.
That's funny.
I was scarred by Jason without ever even seeing a Friday the 13th movie. It was just
Really?
Friday the 13th, and I remember. I think I've told this story on the show before, but like, it was Friday the 13th, and it was the first time I was ever going to go spend the night at a friend's house when I was a kid. And I just remember that people on the news are being all weird about it. It's like, ooh, it's Friday the 13th. And I asked my dad, I was like, what's that about? Why are they acting all weird about it? And this motherfucker, instead of like just telling me like, oh, it's a day for bad luck and stuff, no, he describes the plot of Friday the 13th to me right before sending me off to a buddy's house for the first time as a child, telling me that there's this dude in a hockey mask that goes around killing people with a chainsaw. I'm just like,
Thanks,
so
Dad.
this thing I told my friend, like as soon as I got to his house, and he had night vision goggles, I stayed up all night, like I couldn't go to sleep.
Aww.
Fucking, I was just like, she's like, are you still up? I'm like, yeah, I'm keeping an eye on things.
I'm up forever, yeah.
One question I did have for you. So like, what's like a dream project for you? Something that like you haven't had a chance to do, but you'd love to.
Oh gosh, that's a good question. Well, I really would like to do some sort of comic. For the longest time, I've held on to this idea I've had for a few years now. But like I said, I'm not the best at writing, so I've been thinking about doing I'm big on Instagram. That's the biggest platform I use, and like I see other artists doing like 10-slide like comics, right? Just to start off with, I'd like to do something like that, and even if it's like a no word sort of comic, just silent. I have a couple ideas, and I would definitely want to go with the horror genre. But then again, I think I mentioned this too yesterday. Like, I think it would be so cool to see like a Max Fleischer type of cartoon, like Betty Boop, Coco the Clown, but with South Park sense of humor. You know what I mean? Like that would be fun
That's
for me.
the idea I had today comes into play, so we'll have to talk about it when we.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I would love to do that.
Yeah, that'd be super dope. Well, I guess do we do our mellow out moment now?
Oh yeah, I guess it's mellow out time, huh?
Here you go. Well, hold on. There's a question there.
Oh, my bad. I didn't have the comments.
Oh, there's comment. What was the comment?
You have an ETA on why are Daddy's eyes so red?
I do not. I know once I get started on it, I've kind of taken a little break because some other things have come up, and then like next month I got a couple things popping up as well. But the goal is the beginning of next year. I'm just not sure when. Hopefully before spring is over. That's the goal, but nothing's promising. You know what I mean? So, but I think I've got a good chunk of it where once I finally do get my hands on it again, it'll speak through.
Yeah, I'm very excited to. I know a lot of people are really looking forward to that, so I'm looking forward to finally getting that in the hands of the people. You know.
Yes,
so.
me too.
I still have to write the next two after that. So.
Yes, yeah, could be the same family and everything.
Yeah. All right. Mellow out moment.
Mellow out moment.
Am
I supposed to tell something to mellow out, basically, or some?
It's a variation of things. You can mellow out. Tell somebody something, whatever that needs to mellow out. We're still working on this segment.
Okay. I'm going to tell the geese here in town to mellow out because I love birds, but they're reproducing like crazy, so they need to mellow out. Yeah.
Fuck geese.
I vibe with that. Yeah, the geese are plotting. They're out there plotting. Don't deny it.
I
But,
like them. I can live in civil union with them, but quit with the reproducing a little bit. Slow it down. Slow it down. There's too many.
Mellow out.
No. See, I don't have geese. I don't have geese here. I have snakes. That's what I have. Little snakes.
Oh God, that's horrible.
It is,
I mean,
but like the other day I was out grilling. It was a few weeks ago. I was out gonna grill, and I moved my trash can back, and I guess a snake was under there kicking it, and I smashed his head or rolled over him when I moved the trash. I didn't know. I felt so terrible because I just saw a snake down, and he was like just covered in ants. So I thought, oh man, these ants are fucking attacking the snake, and I was like throwing water on it, trying to save him and stuff. I was like, damn, I don't like you, but I don't want to see you get overtaken like that. But then I realized it started acting all weird, and I knew it was dying. And now though, it's already just a complete little skeleton out there. And out back, like I want to save it or something now. Like let his legacy, put him on my altar or something, and let his legacy live on. Because like it is like a complete like little snake skeleton. It's wild looking.
Oh, that is pretty cool. I think that kind of oddity stuff is cool too. I have like a couple skulls that I've just bleached out, put them in a plant.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And it's like I didn't mean to do that, so I might as well like I said, like honor his sacrifice.
Right. Build him a little throne.
Yeah, it'd be dope. But yeah, my mellow out. I'm gonna take a mellow out moment for myself. Like I said, all week, taking a week off work, so my mellow out moment's gonna last till the next mellow Monday.
Enjoy it. Refresh.
I'll keep mine on topic and tell some of the creators of kids content to mellow out with the adult shit. Like, keep it for the kids. Keep it for the kids. Oh, mellow out there, guy. Right. You want to do the adult stuff? Go do the adult stuff. Get a job at fucking Rick and Morty.
Right. A little bit of both worlds is what you need.
Oh yeah. Well.
Right on.
Awesome. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
No problem. Thank you so much for being on. And if you guys haven't noticed, down on the ticker, we got her websites down there. So go give them a check. I said Chase has tons of paint in there on his wall. They're pretty small. You can't really see them, but got some dope paints over there. Mm-hmm. Some really cool shit.
Thanks for being on the show, and thanks for everything you do for us across the board. Art, animation, video, whatever. You do so much for the old Chase and Shep show. We really appreciate it.
Most definitely.
We all grow together.
That's true.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, until next Monday.
Peace out. Smooches and deuces.
Your Facebook at 6 p.m. on a Monday, so you know what that must mean.
Mondays are for the mind, man. Hey, man. Mellow Monday, man. It's Chase and Shep. We back. That we're back. Every Monday, 6 p.m. ChaseandShep.com. What? ChaseandShep.com, son. Buy our merch. Like the page. Share the episodes. Like, I'm not all that good shit. We should have a good show lined up for you tonight. We've got some guests on the stream. So let me welcome your host, Chase, and myself, Shep.